So we have the next presentation. That's Kenorland Minerals. Leg is here. I think you are the CEO. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, welcome on stage.
Thank you.
Hey, just start. Yeah, you will get the slides here.
All right. Well, this will be a good one to follow up from EMX because we have a sort of similar model, but we're mainly focused in North America. Thanks for joining. I'm Zach Flood, the CEO of Kenorland Minerals. Run through what we're doing here in North America. We're a project generation company, but focused on early stage exploration, focused on discovery of new mineral deposits in North America specifically. This is the team here. So I think people and culture and exploration philosophy is probably the most important ingredient for success when you're trying to achieve what's considered next to impossible, which is finding new mineral deposits. We've got a very strong board of directors. As you can see, we have Yu Yamato. Sumitomo Metal Mining is a 10% shareholder. We have a joint venture with them on a greenfields discovery in northern Quebec. Rick Trotman from Barksdale, who you might know. Jay Suger is a well-known natural resource lawyer based in Vancouver. Jamie Levy is a CEO of Generation Mining, which is a palladium development company in Ontario. Jessica Van Den Acker is a CFO of a number of public companies, and Peter Meredith was a longtime director at Kenorland and is currently a director at Ivanhoe Mines and a large shareholder at Kenorland as well. And then we have the operations and technical team below that in the middle of the slide there, and these are the people that really make it happen out there. There's our team manages around 11 active projects right now. This year alone, we operated around $25 million worth of exploration. In the history of Kenorland, we've managed around $65 million in early stage exploration as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we've got a really great kind of multidisciplinary team that can focus both on the technical side, but the operations side of executing exploration. Just to touch on the cap structure here, so there's 62 million shares out basic, 73 fully diluted. We have about over $10 million in working capital, around 17 million in marketable securities. Our current market cap's around 40 million, so we're sitting at around 13 million enterprise value. One unique aspect of the business is we do generate significant amount of revenue through operating a lot of the exploration. We create or generate a management fee, cash payments, also charging out kind of salaries to the projects as well. So we're able to offset our G&A, and we've brought in more money in revenue than we have spent in G&A in the history of the company, and I'll get into a slide on that. But I think that's really important to communicate to shareholders, because anytime we raise money, over 100% of that's going back into the ground as opposed to paying our salaries. In terms of share ownership, it's a really tightly held company. Management and insiders own approximately 34%. We have strong institutional interest around 23%, including a lot of the big Quebec-based funds like Caisse de dépôt and CIDEX and FDQ. We got some other significant institutional ownership, Commodity Capital, Euro Pacific with Adrian Day, and some very significant high net worth individuals such as John Tognetti. He is the largest individual shareholder, and Paul Stevens as well, a well-known U.S. generalist investor. So I just want to touch on the business strategy. We're focused on making new discoveries. So that first column there that you see, the farm outs, option to joint venture, we're trying to achieve this with as little dilution as possible and as little risk as possible. Obviously, this is an extremely high risk activity, especially in the greenfield side of things. The odds of success are close to nothing. I mean, when you're focusing on pure greenfields. So these projects are large scale in terms of mineral tenure. They require multiple years of early stage kind of phased exploration just to get to a drill target. Millions of dollars spent on just geochemical surveys and geophysical surveys just to get to that first drill target. So it's not really a game a lot of juniors play, the greenfield space. And we take these projects, we'll acquire them through staking generally, come up with a solid exploration plan and budget, and present that to other major mining companies, and typically they'll have us operate and they'll fund the exploration. So we currently have 2 projects that are being funded by Sumitomo Metal Mining, one with Centerra, another with Barrick and Newmont, and also Antofagasta, and we had worked with Freeport previously in Alaska. I'll get into a little more detail on these specific projects. The other column you see there is the equity and royalty generation, and Dave Cole spoke quite a bit about this as well. There is a way to create value in this business, and there's different ways to do it, but some projects aren't really a fit for a major mining company. They might be a little outside the box or not their commodity focus, so we still have a huge amount of intellectual property and ideas. So we'll sometimes go out, acquire the mineral rights on these, and then vend them to other juniors. And typically we do this on a 100% basis for an equity position, and we'll generate a royalty out of that as well for the upside. And we've done quite well with this. As I mentioned, we have around 17 million in marketable securities. The biggest position being a publicly traded lithium company called Lift Power. And then the last column there is the soul-funded exploration. So we do our own exploration. Typically, we're not going to be drilling. That's very cost-intensive and a good way to kind of gamble your shareholders' money. So, but we do early-stage exploration, large kind of geochemical surveys and geophysical surveys to get to that drill target, and obviously staking it. This slide here kind of actually demonstrates the numbers of what I'm referring to. So as on the top left there, we have from 2016 to today. The company was formed in 2016. It was private for 4 years, and we started trading on the public market in 2021. Throughout this time, we've operated around $62 million in early stage exploration. Over 3/4 of that has been funded by our partners. So you could imagine how many shares we'd have outstanding if we tried to raise that amount of capital. This has resulted in one very significant high-grade gold discovery, which I'll get to at the end of the presentation. So I do think it was worthwhile exercise, but still the risk is very high. So again, we're trying to leverage our partners' capital to kind of achieve our goal there. And then on the top right, this is showing in gray the total G&A from 2016 to today has been around $7 million. And the green there, we've actually generated around over $11 million in revenue. So that's cash, due to management fees or option payments, and also share payments on some of these projects. So we have made more money than we spent on G&A in the history of the company. I think that's, in terms of managing our capital, we've done quite well there. All right, I'll get into the assets now. So this is a map of North America. Currently we have around 11 active projects. There's 3 projects that are held under a joint venture. There's 5 that are currently being earned into by major mining companies. We have 6 other projects that are these kind of royalty equity style deals, and 300% of them. We cover around 1.3 million hectares of ground in North America. I think that's around 1.8% of all mineral claims in Canada. Direct ownership, we have around 1 million hectares, and the royalty and equity covers around 320,000 hectares. So exposure to a huge number of properties, a lot of exploration, and I'll get into each jurisdiction specifically here. So I'm going to start with Manitoba. This is where we've been focused most recently in terms of our generative efforts. The commodity focus here is nickel, of course, the Thompson Nickel Belt being one of the world's premier nickel sulfide camps. We've staked around 308,000 hectares in the southern Thompson Nickel Belt. And again, this is one of those projects that we're going to try to attract a major in on to fund exploration. There's a few other projects here in Manitoba that we've done more the royalty equity style deals on. Wheatcroft Lake in the Kisanu with Jayden, and in the Fox River, which is nickel focus. We vended those to Superior Nickel, which is a private company exploring for nickel there in Manitoba. And we have some lithium projects in eastern Manitoba as well. Up here in Alaska, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with the Yukon-Canada terrain, but it hosts Casino, which is one of North America's largest undeveloped porphyry copper systems. It's a late Cretaceous porphyry system, around 72 million years old. We have a very large porphyry system just over the border in Alaska, also around 72, 73 million years old. So same age rocks, really large hydrothermal footprint, and it's a real mineral system. Previously, we had Freeport funding exploration there. They pulled out when the market crashed in March 2020. And most recently, this last year, we signed another option agreement with Antofagasta. So they've begun funding exploration there. They're a large Chilean mining company. We spent around $2 million this year doing geochemical and geophysical surveys. That'll lead to drill targeting and ideally a big drill program next year. And then we have a 70-30 joint venture with Newmont in the Goodpaster near Pogo, Pogo being a large 10 million ounce high-grade gold system. And the Healy project there is a relatively new discovery. We actually put the first holes into it and found a large low-grade disseminated system. Bit of a technical success there, but still I think demonstrates our ability to go out and find opportunities for real new greenfields discoveries. So these things are not reworked. They're not historically really known about. So we really are kind of shooting for something new out there. And the majors recognize that as well, obviously, as you can see from our portfolio. You know, they want to achieve new discoveries too, because a lot of what's out there has been around. You know, people have kicked tires on them for the last couple cycles, so I think it's time we kind of go into new areas and try new things and look at things with new eyes. So here in Eastern Canada, Quebec and Ontario, this is where we initially kind of began our exploration focus in Kenorland. In Quebec there we have a very large presence, and in Ontario we have the South Uchi project, which is option to Barrick. In the Abitibi Greenstone Belt in Quebec, we have the Hunter project option to Centerra, the Jacoby project option to Sumitomo Metal Mining, and in northern Abitibi, we have the Shabistowan project option to Newmont. And in the Frotet Evans Belt, which is just north of the Abitibi, we have a joint venture with Sumitomo Metal Mining. And this project is where kind of I would say our flagship discovery is made. So just to get into a bit of detail on the Frotet project, we staked this in 2018, and we did 2 years of systematic glacial till sampling in the belt. We took about 6,000 samples. We initially recognized that the belt was relatively underexplored. There was a large gold system called Troilus there, owned by Troilus Gold right now. It's around a 7 million ounce low-grade deposit. We thought statistically there was probably one other major gold system in the belt, so this is what kind of led us there to begin with. So after 2 years of glacial till sampling, we identified in the bottom of the page there, you can see in the magenta a large dispersion plume coming out of a lake. In that area there was no previous mineral occurrences, there was no historical drilling, so we were quite excited by that. We could kind of tell that there was a gold system hiding down there somewhere. So today there's around 57,000 meters of drilling into it, around 150 drill holes. We've defined a large footprint vein system, high-grade gold. You can see from the numbers there, the discovery hole was 29 meters at 8.5 grams, including 11 at 18. We've had some other spectacular hits in the R1 vein system, the R1 structure, which has kind of been drilled off the most. 5.72 meters at 90 grams, 25 meters at 6.3 grams, 15.4 meters at 18 grams, etc. There's some extremely high-grade gold here as well, 1.77 meters at 117 grams per ton. It's quite common to find that those triple-digit numbers in the gold system. And so you can see from the map here, most of the drilling has been along the R1 and the R2. But earlier this year, we pushed some holes through the R1 system and hit all of the veins here in gold just below that. These are new vein discoveries in 2022. And I'll just rattle off a couple numbers here. So on the R5, we hit 2.91 at 30 grams per ton. On the R6, 6.65 at 19. R7, 10 meters at 4.43, and R8, 5 meters at 5.46. So these are all brand new vein discoveries underneath the R1. This is what the system looks like, kind of modeled. We have about 1.5 kilometers of strike there, multiple vein structures. This absolutely has potential to become a multi-million ounce gold system, and Sumitomo, of course, funding 80% of it. So I do believe this has a real chance of becoming a mine, and it's a big value driver for us. So appreciate the time. I think I covered everything. Sorry I didn't leave any time for questions. So thank you.
Thanks a lot.